Afternoon, afternoon. I'm sure we all enjoyed our lunch and the networking. I'm told to go up the stage. The last time I went up the stage, I fell and tripped, but nobody laughed though. So it's not going to happen again today. Could we all gather around for the next panelist, for the next section that we're going to have? Talking about proactive startups, I was supposed to introduce them as they come up the stage. Very well. No, it's good. Proactive. There we go.
Oh, yes.
So our next session in discussion is a journey through a startup scaling and challenges, which will be moderated by Eduardo. And on our panel is the startups that presented yesterday. Sure, after having pitched today, their nerves are down and they don't have 3-minute timer today. So there's no nerves, there's no looking at the timer. They have all the time in the world to answer and think through their questions. Thank you so much.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon again. I was just asked if I could help a bit with moderation. I'm pleased to do so. Today, what we would like to achieve with this conversation is to bring you the day-to-day challenges and way of work of startups, the challenges they face, the way they cope with them closer. We normally talk a bit more about the theory, how can you succeed, how can you do this stuff. Today, it's much more how things happen in reality. So, welcome to all of you.
Thank you.
If it's okay, I will appreciate if you can introduce yourself, brief words, and then we jump into the questions, right? Thank you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Zanele Matome. I'm the founder and CEO of Welo. We're a health tech company solving the problem of access to healthcare for Africans at home. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, everybody. My name is Wynand Geldenhuys. I'm the co-founder of Munch. We're a food ordering platform.
Ryan Penderas from Namibia, the co-founder and CEO of Linkwise. We are a fintech that has a cloud-based software that helps banks and insurance companies collect their money directly from their clients' payslips.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Begi Ngulube from Kweza Technologies. We are a last-mile distribution platform that provides FMCGs with efficient route to market and small spaza shops access to those products at the best available price.
All right. Thank you very much. So we will start with the classic one. We'd like to ask you in 30 seconds just to hold your elevator speech and try to convince here our audience what you do, why they should invest in you. Would you like to start, Sana?
So at Welo, we're solving the problem of access to healthcare for people at home. We basically bring healthcare to your doorstep using smart technology. So we're currently servicing B2B and also our end users at home. Anything from your IVs to COVID monitoring to getting your bloods collected at home and sending it to the nearest lab using our gig workers. Thank you.
All right. Let's continue, please.
Yeah, so Munch is essentially an app where we try and take the friction out of ordering and payments in areas where there's a lot of people trying to order food in a very short space of time. So in canteens, events, basically also anywhere where delivery doesn't make sense, where you want the same convenience as what you're used to on the delivery apps, but you're just going to pick up the food or the drink from the restaurant or the canteen very quickly. So we're selling convenience by taking friction out.
All right. Thank you.
I thought we weren't going to be under any time pressure for this one. So, Linkwise, a lot of blue-collar workers don't get access to regulated finance, and we de-risk them by integrating with their company's payroll so that they can actually work with the regulated industry and avoid loan sharks and so on. That's I think the quick one.
All right, thank you. Last
I
one,
think,
please.
at Queza, I think our major challenge is ensuring that we solve inefficient last-mile distribution networks. And by solving that, we actually provide our sponsor shop owners access to products at the best available price, which impacts the community, which means that communities can make every rand that they earn stretch a little bit further. And I think that's our biggest goal, is impacting the communities that the sponsor shops service.
All right, great. Let's continue with you. There is this famous word, traction. What will be, or what was your first or most important challenge for getting your first customer and then get traction somehow?
Yeah, so I think for us, one of the things in the market that we service, trust is actually a very big component of meeting the customers. I think a lot of the customers, sponsor shop owners in particular, they're very mistrusting of people that come with new products, new brands, and things like that. Mm-hmm. And building that trust with them, I think, was one of the biggest challenges. You know, when I think of Sandile, who was our first customer, I think we did our first delivery October 17th, 2019. And you know, getting him to actually place an order, we had to visit that shop, I think 3, 4, or 5 times. The first time we went there, we were just doing market research, asking him about his challenges. The second time we came there with a little MVP about what we could do for him. Mm-hmm. The third time was just like presenting options for him in terms of pricing for his products. And then after the fourth time, he's like, yeah, I'm going to give you an order. The order was 362 rand, 75 cents. But that was the day we got our first customer, you know. And it's right. Like, it's just building, for us, I think our major focus is really building trust with the customers that we service, and showing them that we're not just sort of here to get their money, but more that we're on a journey with them, you know. And I think it kind of fits in line with our mission, which is to help them formalize, digitize, and grow. Because their success, in essence, is then our success as well. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I see. Thank you. Does the healthcare sector behaves differently? It was a sort of different challenge for you, Tsenela?
Yes, traction was a bit difficult in the beginning because we started with B2C clients. Mm-hmm. So I remember the first time, you know, I was handing out flyers at the robots with my team, and we're not getting takers. Then we said, okay, let's go to them at that pain point, because we were still doing medicine delivery for them. So that pain point was at the hospitals. So we had to be there. You know, that time I was still using taxis. I would take a taxi to make sure that by 5 a.m. I'm there when they're queuing and waiting to get medication. That's how we could get traction. Then when they're at that pain point and you're busy telling them that, no, guys, you don't have to wait here and queue for hours anymore. Wello is here to do this and that for you. And then they would sign up on the spot. So it went from the robots and just going to your clients at that pain point. And that traction and us delivering and now getting into the swing of things helped us to get our next attraction, which was our B2B client, which is Discovery Medical Aid, amongst other 3 B2B clients. But that initial traction of going to the pain point of your customers, it helped us a lot.
All right, then the spillover effect came. Nice, congratulations.
Thank you.
Ryan, how was for you the transition and the main challenges when you presented your first MVP to your first clients?
Yeah, I think, you know, we laugh about it a lot in terms of what we built a product that at its core didn't change and worked very well, but the sort of the things around it and what the customers wanted, we thought we knew exactly what we were doing, and when we went into the market, we figured that the challenges that they were actually solving, we could still solve, but we were actually solving a completely different problem. Mm-hmm. So I think it's one of those classic things where there's a pivot along the way, and I think they happen quick in the beginning and then become hopefully fewer and far between. But we were lucky that our core product was good enough that it still solved their major problem. We just actually didn't know for example, we thought their major problem was going to be they wanted to give more insurance and more lending options to their employees. But that was actually not their problem. Their major problem was they had this huge administrative burden of already managing just the ones that they were doing. And we realized that's what they were paying for us to solve, not to actually add on. And now that we've solved it, we now have the opportunity to add on more. So these guys do have more options, but we were very wrong in what we first actually presented to those first customers.
Okay. That means this talk about also the being fast and perhaps bringing as quick as possible a functioning prototype, in, if not perfect, is much, much reasonable and becomes more attractive also for your customers, since you provide perhaps a not complete solution, but still a solution, a part of it at least. Huh?
Exactly. I think we could have spent another year building out what we thought was the right product, and then we would have found out that it was wrong and we would have wasted a year. So it's much better to take something early, as long as it works. I mean, I think the caveat there is that the core product has to work, obviously.
You are also in a similar sector, fintech. Were you facing different challenges for developing your first MVP and presenting it to your customers?
I completely resonates with me, because you think you're solving one problem, and when you actually get into the trenches with the customer that you're building this for, you discover that you were on the right track, but there's a lot of nuance in what you should be doing differently for them. So I think we all go in with very good intentions to solve problems, but to really solve it, you need to get into the business with the customer, sit next to them, walk sort of in their shoes. You can't do it completely from a comfortable office building somewhere, coding away. You'll always miss the mark.
All right. And do you follow a particular method to promptly identify these pain points that are so important, or to either continue the development of your product, or pivot and perhaps go slightly in a different direction?
So two things we do is, firstly, you interview your customer and the user that actually uses your system, and they will give you one version. And then what we do is we actually observe them as well using it, and that gives us a different version. And somewhere in between is sort of the truth, because I find a lot of times people communicate their problem very different to what it actually is.
All right, interesting. Another challenge startups also face, and it's, I think, a shared challenge, is the pricing, and how to define it, and how to, let's say, again, touch the sweet spot that in order to become attractive enough, but not expensive, too expensive for your customers' acceptance. So what were the challenges that you faced at the beginning when bringing your product to your first customers? How was this iteration? Was an iteration process behind it?
Yes, when we started with our B2C, I remember we were competing, with the Uber prices. We wanted to say, okay, to deliver medicine for you, we'll charge you $35, 35 rands. And we did that. Then we went back to our clients and said, no, we're not winning, because from this amount, we have to pay the scooter driver, the gig scooter driver, and we still have to survive and do other things in the company. Then we just went back to our clients and said, we made a mistake. Guys, we made a mistake. This price is not working, and we can't compete with Uber, who has money for days. And we calculated everything. So we said, okay, the new price is 79 rands. How do you feel about that? And they were like, we need your service. We'll even pay 120. It's fine.
Really?
Because it was working. Then we changed. So sometimes just go back to your clients, because we pivot. We new into this. We pivot. Sometimes we make mistakes. Yeah. And just go back and speak to your clients and say, okay, this is not working. How can we do 1, 2, 3? So I think, speak to your clients.
All right. Yeah. How was it for you?
I think for us, luckily, because a lot of our customers were using alternative services before we arrived, we almost had a baseline price that they were paying towards their own delivery, or hiring a bakkie for a day to go and get stock at the wholesalers and stuff. And we then approached that as a baseline, and we then looked at, okay, what is it going to cost us to actually deliver the products to them? And then we then took sort of 3 different pricing tiers to the customers. And it was just a simple question as, would you be willing to pay 250 Rand? Would you be willing to pay 180? Would you be willing to pay 150? And sort of a lot of the customers, you know, you start with the highest price and you kind of work your way down. And we sort of saw a pattern, you know, like it was more skewed towards the 180 and the 150. And I think that's kind of where we settled, that it was more just a question of looking at the existing pricing models and what we needed to sort of break even for our deliveries, and then presenting those as options to the customers in a sort of tiered way, and then making a pricing decision based on that as well. Yeah.
Okay. If we go perhaps a step backwards in analyzing, you know, the desirability of your product, eventually the feasibility, the technical feasibility to do it, and you say yes here, yes, positively evaluated, and then you come to the viability, in particular the financial viability, and you realize, okay, perhaps our aim or target is not that realistic. Do you have, or have you had any such scenario, such situation?
You mean in terms of questioning the viability? I think we started with a pilot customer, and we built on from that piece by piece. And one of the sort of half into this and half into the back one of the challenges we had is because we have 3 people working on our platform. You know, we have these employees interacting with our clients. We have the clients, you know, the banks and the insurance companies, and then we have the employers who are actually solving the most problem for, but we're solving a little bit of a problem for everyone. And one of our challenges was who to charge, you know, to figure that out in the beginning as well, who to charge and how much to charge. And then we didn't really have that problem within Namibia because we started with a pilot company, and we built on from that. You know, so we self-funded, we bootstrapped it, we built it on slowly to make sure that we got it right, and we got it to a point where we then could scale it out. So until now, we didn't struggle with that too much, luckily.
All right, that's good. Winan, just to close the round, do you have also an experience with us to share in that regard?
In terms of pricing?
In terms of pricing and the challenges you faced for positioning your product, in particular to your first customers.
Yeah, so I think experimentation is key, as was said. But, you know, I think for us what works well is we communicate the value. So it's one thing to talk about the price, but we sort of talk about the value. For example, we ask a customer, would you pay 2,000 Rand a month to get 25% more orders? And if you do that math, then yes, they're willing to for that price exchange of value. So I think it's very, you should communicate the value for them before you even talk about the price. And again, to experiment with the feedback on that to adjust it.
All right. So there were, I guess, a couple of very insightful comments here directly from you guys working on a daily basis on the ground and being confronted every day with these challenges. At this point, if it's also okay for you, I would like to now provide the possibility to the audience to place questions you might have, that perhaps any pressing issues you will be facing as an entrepreneur or with your company. So there we see the first hand, please.
Hi, guys. Hello?
Yeah.
Okay, so I think what I'd be interested in, and it's a question that ideally would be cool if all of you could answer, but whoever wants to take it. I think if you could go back in time and change one mistake that you made when starting, what would that be?
Okay, who wants to answer? Only one. All right, keep this.
Hiring, man. I made a few hiring mistakes. Hired people because they are unemployed, not because they were hungry and they were passionate, and just hiring out of emotions, or, oh, this one is unemployed, I just raised some few $100,000, let me employ them, etc. So for me, I've made hiring mistakes, and yeah, I think that one I would change.
Thank you. Anybody else who would like to share?
Yeah, I think for myself, I think one, we were actually discussing it, funny enough, upstairs yesterday, is that, like, I think as startups and as founders, there's this inherent pressure sometimes to do everything, because we're the only people in the teams. You know, we feel like we have to do everything. But I think also at some point or another, I think, you know, we definitely could have benefited by getting an accountant in-house not even in-house like permanently, but someone to look at the books on a monthly basis initially, you know, like when we were first starting, because when you get those processes and systems in place, you know, early on, it really saves you a lot of time later on. I mean, we had a lot of catch up to do when we were doing our first like financials, you know, back end of like last year. But I think sometimes, you know, as founders, we should have that willingness to sort of pay for a service that we are not, that's not our core competence. And that, I think it frees us up to then do the things that we really need to do, just focusing on the business. So yeah, my piece of advice and one thing I would change is, yeah, don't be afraid to pay for someone else to do a job that you don't necessarily need to be doing. Yeah.
I think it's, you know, it's a tricky question, because if you look back, you know, as a founder, someone starts a business, almost everything that happened, as long as your business is still existing, did have some sort of benefit to it, I think. But probably what we did, I think, is that we tried to do a lot ourselves, and it maybe speaks to that a little bit. We did a lot ourselves, and you know, then we would maybe drop the ball on things like you know, acquiring customers and hardcore sales, because we got so busy in the day-to-day or in the product or something that suddenly 2 months has gone by and we forgot to follow up with this customer, and it became you know, I think we had a lot of benefit once we actually brought in a team to handle a lot of those aspects.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, so for
Anything
me, it would be to sell what you have today, or find customers that's willing to buy what you have today. I think early on we were very much led by a prospect that said, if you also did this feature, then I would buy it. And you go and you sort of go and build this thing, instead of just getting another 10 customers that's willing to buy what you have today. I think that's one thing I would change.
Okay, thank you very much. Anybody else? Another question from the audience? So there we have another question.
Thank you. I just want to ask, you know, sometimes you take your MVP to the clients for the first time, and there are certain things that you need to change. Sometimes you pivot your entire product. You just indicated that you had to change the price, and the clients accepted. So how difficult was it to actually move away from the original idea that you thought or you were sure that it will work? How difficult is it to actually say, look, my customers are responding in this way and this is the route to take? How difficult is it to deviate from your original plan?
All right. You got it.
I think don't get married to your idea or get married to your processes. And also with startups, I've learned to just leave your ego at the door. You're not always right. Listen to your customers. I remember when we did the WhatsApp chatbot, the payment, it was, you know, you had to pay through credit card or through PayFast. But our market, which is mainly in the township for the medicine delivery when we're doing B2C, they don't want to pay in using credit cards. They want to do cash, etc., etc. So if you're not married to the idea, you can change. Then we went back and said, okay, what's the language of people who buy in the townships? They use Money Market. We grew up going to Money Market, ShopRite, Boxer, USave, Pep Store, you name it. Then we approached the company that does this for your Boxers and USaves, and we spoke to them and we changed. And now we went back to our people and said, okay, now you can pay, you'll get an SMS, then you'll go to your nearest Boxer, which is around you, ShopRite, USave, etc., and pay using that. So don't get married to your idea. We don't have all the answers. Our customers have all the answers, and just pivot as you go.
Thank you very much. Perhaps one last person from the panel who would like to provide an answer to that one. We are running a bit of time.
I think I can just add on, I think, and you touched on it earlier a little bit.
Yeah.
I think it's so important to to get your hands dirty and to go to the customer and to really get in the trenches. And I think a lot of guys, especially if you are lucky enough to raise a lot of money and stuff, you end up not spending any time with your customers. You end up not spending time actually selling your business. I think it's so important. One of the keynotes said it yesterday. It's so important for the founders to be the first salesman because you learn so much in those first meetings, and sometimes, like it was for us, our whole product pitch changed because we realized we were solving the wrong problem. If we had hired a sales force and given them a mandate to go sell this product, I don't know if we would be here today.
I think that's a very powerful message for closing the panel. Thank you very much, guys, to all of you. I wish you a lot of success.
Thank you.
And thank you for the questions.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
This one?